Perfect Sisters from 2014 is a drama with thriller elements and some whimsical stuff that is tone shifting in an abrupt way. The movie stars Georgie Henley and Abigail Breslin as two sisters who are up to here with their alcoholic mother's behavior. The mother is played by Mira Sorvino. The two sisters eventually decide to take desperate measures and plot to murder their mother. I wanted to watch this movie because of Georgie Henley, and she doesn't have too many roles as an adult, so I'm seeking them out where I can find them. This movie is available on Tubi if you want to check it out, but be warned, it's not for everybody. It is pretty sad and miserable, but I will say it accurately portrays, in my opinion, dysfunctional families, abusive situations, neglectful situations, alcoholism, and though the movie feels very cheap, it's the kind of movie where I saw at least one boom mic in a shot. There were still some real gut-wrenching emotional moments in this movie that, for me, made it worth watching. So if you're looking for a dark family drama with elements of true crime and it feels like it was a made-for-TV movie, but it has some star power, I didn't even mention how good Abigail Breslin is in this movie. Perfect Sisters is by no means a masterpiece, but I'm glad I took the time to check it out. Binge and Purge is a shot-on-video movie from 2002, and I wanted to cover this one because I don't really talk about micro-budget, like homemade, real shoestring passion projects enough on this channel. And this one I came across because SRS put out a DVD of it that I got off of Hamilton Book for like $3 or something. And I will note that I couldn't get this DVD to play on the first 4 devices I tried it on, and finally it played in one of my Blu-ray players. So take that into account if you purchase anything from SRS. I love them, but that was a little bit frustrating. This movie is a sci-fi horror that takes elements from the X-Files and Resident Evil, and it involves a group of supermodels who are actually cannibals, and there are 3 assassins who are trying to get to the bottom of who keeps killing and cannibalizing and turning into zombies, all these different victims. And as you can tell, it's a kind of wacky movie, really swings for the fences in a lot of ways, and it could have been a disaster. And some people will hate this movie just because it looks like a home movie. But I was really bought in, and maybe it's because I have worked on amateur film projects before. I know what it's like, all the hard work that goes into it, and getting everybody together and all that stuff, doing shots over and over, and everything that goes into making something just look halfway decent is a ton of work. And I haven't seen a ton of shot-on-video movies, so I wanted to expand my horizons here. But some of the ones I have seen are not this good. There's a lot of fun action, many comedic moments, though I wouldn't call it a comedy, and of course a lot of blood and guts that make this one recommendable on the level of just look at this footage and you know if you're going to like this or not. For some people, it'll be way off the beaten path, but for me, it was in a wheelhouse that I didn't know I had. Call Girl of Cthulhu, in a similar vein, is a movie from 2014 that it was also on a very small budget, and I watched this one because it has some of the same cast and crew from the WNUF Halloween special, which I watched for the first time this week, and I really didn't like it, so I'm not even going to talk about it. However, I did like the cast, and I liked the spirit that was behind that film, so I wanted to give this whole group another chance. And I'm glad I did, because Call Girl of Cthulhu, which is available on Tubi, is a funny, fun, gross, colorful movie with practical special effects. And while I was concerned that it would be too sleazy for my tastes, especially because one Letterboxd reviewer referred to it as softcore porn, it's not softcore porn. In fact, there's not even what I would call a ton of nudity in this movie. In fact, the overall sleaze level for a movie called Call Girl of Cthulhu is lower than you would think. The plot centers on a conspiracy of evildoers who want to bring Cthulhu back in the world, and they can only do it through one prostitute in particular who has a birthmark, so they're searching for her based on the birthmark throughout the whole first half of the movie. And we have a main character who's kind of a loser artist guy who befriends this prostitute. There's also some benevolent people trying to fight the bad guys who team up with him and assist him through his journey. And there's also his neighbor who is helpful and becomes a very important character later on in the movie. And when you're watching a movie like this, you have to sometimes think, is this so bad it's good, or is it just good? Like, is it just a fun, stupid movie, which is exactly what it's trying to be. So watching Binge and Purge and Call Girl of Cthulhu in the same week was a lot of fun, because seeing a movie that was shot on video from 2002, almost back to back with a movie from 2014 that is shot in very high definition and looks great, really shows the progression of technology and how much easier and more accessible it is to be able to make a feature-length film. So again, as you see this footage, you probably know if you're going to be into this or not. But again, if you want to see something that's sleazy but not too sleazy, has some good practical effects, some cool characters, or if you like the WNUF Halloween special, you might want to check this out. Detention from 2011 is one of the most surprising movies I've seen in a long time. On the surface, it seems like a normal horror slasher set in a high school, and boy does it give a bad first impression to some people, because it is intentionally annoying when it starts off. I actually love the introduction with one particularly annoying character who's narrating her life, and there's all kinds of graphics on screen. And again, some people hate this. I thought it was great, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm bought into this movie. And then from there, it just ramps up and ramps up and ramps up until I realized I was watching something really special. I feel like I don't want to even talk too much about this movie, because if I had known all the elements that were in it before I watched it, I might have had too high expectations for what actually unfolds in this film. But suffice it to say, there are elements of science fiction, horror slashers, monster movies, all kinds of different things in here. The movie is very funny, very interestingly shot. It almost looks like a music video in a lot of ways, and some people don't like that, but I'm fine with it. I found the characters really endearing. Again, even the characters that were supposed to be annoying, I really liked. Certain characters have unexplainable quirks that are actually explained later on, and that is something else that I loved about this movie, is that it felt like it left a bunch of open threads in the beginning, and then everything kind of converged at the end, and not many questions were left unanswered if I think about it. So yeah, I really love this movie, and I don't see anybody ever talking about this thing, and I kind of wonder why. If you like a movie that's garish and flashy and verges on annoying, or at risk that it might even annoy you, then Detention from 2011 might be what you're looking for. Linda 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 from 2005 is a Japanese film about 4 high school students who decide to start a band. Actually, one of them is in a band, but they have a few shifting members. One of them got injured. Another one had a falling out with the singer, so they need to find a new singer. So they connect with a Korean exchange student who is not very good with the Japanese language. So they decide to play a couple covers of a band called the Blue Hearts, which was a Japanese punk band from the 80s and 90s. And the movie is basically about them coming together and befriending each other and playing the showcase for the high school festival towards the end of the movie. This is one that I've been wanting to watch for a while, because I see it floating around Twitter every once in a while. People often cite it as one of their favorite movies of all time, and I knew that it would be in my wheelhouse, being about an all-girl rock band in high school. I've talked about being in bands when I was growing up, and I feel like this movie really nailed the vibe of that kind of feeling you get when you're in practice and just trying to tune up, and you suck at first and then you get better and better. And this movie isn't some underdog tale about a battle of the bands. Like, they're not trying to achieve anything or set the world on fire. They just want to play a couple songs at this showcase at their high school. And that's kind of what I love about it, is that when you're in a band, a lot of times it's just something that you do while you're doing your other stuff in life. So I appreciated a movie that didn't have a plot revolving around trying to achieve some life-altering gig playing in front of 10,000 people in a stadium. I just really felt like I was hanging out in a rehearsal space. I think it was super authentic in that way. So please understand, if you're going to check this movie out, it's super low stakes. It's a very chill, relaxed, and pleasant movie. But by the end, I, for one, was getting choked up with wistful nostalgia and just the joy and happiness of what it's like to play your music, or someone else's music in this case, in front of other people for the first time. So for me, Linda, Linda, Linda from 2005 is an instant classic. And that'll do it for this episode. I appreciate you sticking around to the end. If you like these short reviews I do, I have a whole playlist of them on my channel. I do this every week, so I'll see you on the next one.